There are endless Bitcoin podcasts. Most of them pretend they're always right. We don't. Bitcoin Tonight, live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Club Underground. No scripts, no influence or hierarchy, no mercy for bad ideas. Some takes land and some don't. Some sentences should have stayed in our heads. You'll hear all of it live with us, HumbleWarrior, Mr. Ulric, and Phil. Plus, a chat that makes sure we know when we're wrong. If you're not here live, you're missing the point. And yes, you're missing the best part. Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Bitcoin Tonight. Catch us live. The replay, it's not going to hit the same.
Welcome back. Bitcoin Tonight. How you doing, Ulric?
I just finished retweeting the live episode. I hope you guys are joining us tonight for what hopes to be a very, well, you see my color in the background. It's a little blood red, but
It's a little red.
We'll get through this.
Look, but it depends. If you're looking at that chart that River just put out, Bitcoin is faring very well against a lot of other asset classes right now.
Oh, you
Right?
Phil, I just
You switched it to green?
No, I just upgraded my phone, Pixel 10 XL Pro or whatever, the big one, to replace my old Pixel 7. And guess what I didn't do? I didn't sign into all those price charts and all those notifications for Bitcoin. And my mind is so clear. I'm like, oh, no notifications. It must be nice when I'm not watching the price. I don't even know what price it's at right now. So
your mind's gonna get polluted because we're gonna talk about a whole lot of pollution tonight. And unfortunately, Humble is not joining us tonight. She is very busy, but we will hopefully have her here next week. All right, guys, let's take a look at the topics. We are going to cover the economic woes and dominoes. I like how that rhymes. Ulric. What else are we doing? We're hedging against economic uncertainty, tax exemption for crypto lobbying. The state. Who doesn't love the state? We're doing some AI tonight, I see. AI use cases and economic sovereignty across borders. Boom. Let's frickin' go. Okay, we're going to dive into it. Club Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium.
Phil, like I said, man, there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening in the economy, and without being too wordy, you gotta wonder, like, what's next. Yet still, with all the things that have been happening, generally reddish, bullish, like my lights in the background, I'm very pleased to see Bitcoin holding firm and kind of fluctuating between the high 60s, the mid 70s. I don't see, Phil, I think we've bottomed. Before we get into the charts, I mean, tell me that we've bottomed, man.
Okay, well, look, Roman is now Mike Want. And he says we bottomed. Okay, so I'm going with Roman on this one. I mean, look, I said this in the past, that this is very reminiscent to me of the 10K line and the 6K line, right? 10K was unbreakable. We were never going to go below 10K, right? Mm-hmm. The institutions were supposedly here, right? There was Fidelity, right? They were looking into mining at the time. So that's it. And yet we found ourselves at 6K, So, hold on a second. We're getting comments here. We got to look at the comments. Verhoofdy, welcome. And okay, Verhoofdy says we haven't bottomed. Okay, so he's on the same side as Humble. Also thinking the 35 to 40K region. And even though this has nothing to do with the price action, Naka sold 200 plus Bitcoin. Naka, you know what? That probably made their share price go up because that means they finally earned something. Finally earned a buck. Way to go. And Psychotrain.
Where's the woman? Goodness.
You know what, Psychotrain? We're gonna have a talk after this. We're gonna have a talk. What a year it's been. And we're only in March. Okay. Look at this.
Look what's happened in March. Let me see. Phil, like the S&P posted its lowest close in 232 days, erasing another 1 trillion of market cap on March
Oof.
27th. That's basically closing out Friday. So we close out Friday with a bang. Blood in the streets. Everything's red. This brings the S&P total losses since the Iran war began, not the beginning of the year, to 4.8 trillion. It's just not pretty. But you would think, remember, like those days, if Nvidia went down 13%, Phil, Bitcoin's going down 15%, right? 16%. It doesn't. I mean, if you're calling, like, you can't even call 74 from 75 to 67, 10% drop, because it was at 67 the week before. So it's like it's kind of net zero here. Am I right? Shouldn't it be going down? Shouldn't it be cascading down like 60K, 58K, 52? What's going on?
Okay, so here I wanted to pull this up.
Hello.
Right?
Oh, that
Yeah,
reminds me of something.
This is the chart.
Who told you about that one?
I found it on the Twitters.
We mentioned that in Bitcoin Tonight last week, man.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh man, I saw it reposted. You know how it goes.
I said, hey, Bitcoin does good with geopolitical events. You're like, I'm not sure. I'm like, and I started mentioning it. And then I said, check your Telegram, man. Check your Telegram. I said,
oh man. Okay, well, but the thing is, I'm not using this to say like, oh yeah, we're doing great. I'm just saying this is a point of data that indicates that, hey, we're not doing as bad as we could be. And I can't disagree with that. You were showing that chart of all of those tech stocks. I hate this view. This view is weird. The tech stocks.
This one?
I don't know. It was this square one that we had.
This one. No, this one's fine.
This is that's fine.
This is good.
But in terms of those tech stocks, right? It is kind of worrisome, not for Bitcoin, but just the overall picture, right? It kind of, I hate to say this, but you get this feeling that we're stepping down. Right, like it's like the whole economy is being stepped down. It's really strange. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know where the bottom of it is, obviously, because it's just not what I do. I have no idea where the bottom is. I'm not even going to try to speculate. But it does kind of like, the reason why it worries me is because, okay, well, if Bitcoin was a leading indicator to this, right? It was essentially the first domino to fall, right? Once we hit 126, that was it. So essentially, are we going to be, if Bitcoin does that leg down, right, into the, let's say, the low 50s, high 40s or something like that, essentially, does that mean that it drags everything down with it eventually? So anyways, I'm not trying to be a doomer, right? Because it doesn't help my bags either, but I also don't want to get wrecked. So I'm just trying to stay like on the middle ground where I'm optimistic, but I see these things, and the private credit thing is getting weird, right? We've got those five, the five businesses. Oh, nice. Okay, so look, UBS is the fifth one, right? So UBS is the fifth one now to halt their withdrawals on their private equity funds. So I'm just saying, it's starting to look like we were sitting in froth, and now we're starting to find out who's swimming naked. Anyways,
UBS gates 400 million euro property funds for up to 3 years. So go ahead.
Imagine that you have your money locked up over there. Imagine you have the majority of your wealth locked up in this. And now all of a sudden you were only able to take out a small percentage of it, and the rest has to stay locked for 3 years. You have no choice but to eat that.
It's amazing how Bitcoin provides for itself a it's like, hey, I'm here, guys, and people don't seem to really care. It doesn't have any yield, so that's really the draw against it, because people want yield. But when I'm thinking, like, at what cost do you want that yield when the most hallowed, the most reputable, respectable institutions tell you can't take your money. Your money is our money. At some point, people have to start thinking about the use case of financial sovereignty, and not just number go up, not just pump my bags, yo. And Bitcoin is, even though bags have been pumped over the last decade and a half, it's not about bags pumping. It's about bags preserving, bags ownership. It's like, how, if you can't access your bags, what's the point?
It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. And hold on a second here. We're getting some analysis, some market analysis from Verhoofdy. Let's do it. I spent considerable time studying charts, and I don't think the bottom is in. There's several indicators that are suggesting lower. I don't disagree with that. Nothing to be afraid of, though. Long view is extremely bullish. Agreed.
Long view.
Agreed about the long view.
I want to be up now.
Yeah. And yeah, Bitcoin trades like the 4-year fractal. Look, so far it really does. I've gotten myself sucked into the BS of the super cycle theory, or that somehow all of a sudden, there's gonna, hey, how's it going, Phil? Like all of a sudden, these institutions that are here buying Bitcoin are gonna create a floor so that we don't end up seeing these 4-year cycles and it's over and blah blah blah. But you know what? We seem to be doing the same thing again and again. So,
the only difference that I see is that there is, let's just say, if this is the bottom, considering, and let's go back to have some sort of analogous comparison. November 2021, 69,000, cascading down until the bottom hits January November the next year, 2022. FTX blows up again. You have 12 months of downward trend. Now, when you now you go back to October 25, we have the top 121, 125, 126.
Yeah,
126. Mid-October, we're now at the beginning of April. March 30th at the time of this recording. So now we're looking at basically about 6 months, 5-6 months. If we're going to say that, hey, we're still on if we're saying that this time is not different, we're still in that 3 up, 1 down kind of thing. And that 1 down essentially is with basically another 6 months to go. And so what I see is like, if the down was 50%, it was fast down, but now we're kind of flat for a while. We've been at 70,000 for about 2 months now. I'm just wondering, a month and a half, like, does that mean that we go down another 50% from here? Do we go down another 30% from here? If this time is not different, does that mean we have a full, like, we cascade down for 12 months before we angle up again? And I guess my long-winded history recall to ask the question, what would it take for this time to not be different from the bear market perspective, Phil?
I don't know. I was busy pulling up the annual chart so I could take a look at the green red pattern.
Because I guess what I'm saying is that if we go up now, if we bottomed at 60 and go and never see 59,000, I would say that this time is different because we bottomed very quickly, and our bottom was very shallow at the same time. And so even if it's not this time is different, it's this time we are trimming down the depths of our bear market, which is something to consider with the maturity of Bitcoin, having higher lows, and hopefully not lower highs, but maybe muted peaks in the future.
So you can see this is the first time we've done the second red candle on the year. I mean, I know we're only in month 3 of the year, but
and that first red candle is 25.
Like every single one of these candles is 1 year of price action, right? So you could see like what we've done.
Yeah, but do you want to count the year end and close, or do you want to count the peaks of the candle? Like maybe you want to count the wick, right?
Well, the wick. So the problem with the wick is that there's not a lot of volume there, right? So it's not really. It's I don't know. I have a hard time with wicks.
Do you
Wicks
count
are.
open and close for a year? Bitcoin doesn't go on calendars.
I know it doesn't, but
Gregorian
according to
calendar.
this, they chop it up. You know what I mean? They chop it up
Church?
Gregorian style. they say, "Hey, these are the candles you're looking at." Anyways,
Bitcoin's a Catholic Church conspiracy, and I knew it. What else?
Yeah.
So besides it, so it's like
I
here's
don't know where
another
we're going on
thing.
that one.
There's no way to follow that up, but we
Yeah.
can follow up the.
It's
we can
okay.
follow up the bearishness, if you will. What we have here, Kobayashi letter basically says that the Federal Reserve is now no longer expected to cut interest rates until December 2027. Now, remember, we were really fishing for rates going down to 1% in 2025. And of course, things just happened. Trump added tariffs. So Jerome Powell said, well, you're not getting the rate cuts. And then more things happen. And now with the oil crisis we have, it's basically driving up inflation and fears, and to the point where let me go to this next slide. What you have here is the expectations for the Federal Reserve interest rates. Now, here's how you read this. This is from September 2025, where basically we were at 400 to 425 BPS, and basically the next Fed rate event, they said it was an 88% chance. You see in the upper right corner, 88% chance of reducing rates. And you see for each next Fed chair event, this was that blue mark was basically the majority chance, what was the most likely result of the Fed rates. So basically they're saying by September of 2026, we expect it to be at 325 BPS. But now, with all the stuff that's happened recently, now remember this chart, I'm going to the next one. What you have here is, here's the next meeting date, April 29th, which is where we're at 350, 375. And we went from expecting to go down to 300 by September 26th to going, by the time September 27th happens, we'll probably stay at 350 to 375, and then probably trend upward and have a rate increase by September of 2027. So basically, anyone who's thinking of even seeing one rate cut in the next year and a half, you're going to be waiting in vain from what the interest rate futures say as of this date. It doesn't look like Bitcoin's price is going to get help from rate cuts now. And so you kind of have to just hope that Bitcoin fares well with with a more tight, what would you say, a tighter Fed rate policy. Can Bitcoin survive in a tight Fed rate policy environment?
That's going to be something that we're going to find out. As soon as you were talking about that, I was just thinking, I think the dollar is also going up right now, isn't it? Isn't the dollar showing strength as well, if I'm not mistaken? And so we've got like this convergence where risk is for whatever reason not that cool right now, and instead the dollar's going up. So people, it looks like, are shifting out, right? Like you showed before that chart with all the tech stocks, right? Like they're all freaking red. Like they've been stepping down for the last, I don't know, last few months. So
I would say the dollar rate
does
chart.
that
Let me see if I can pull it up so people are seeing what I see. I'm going to pull
does
it up.
that mean we don't see any relief until like mid 2027?
Or do we?
I mean, based on the chart you were just looking at, where we start to get cuts, right? That was like mid 2027, wasn't it?
What we have?
No, it was the late half of 2027, not even mid.
Yeah,
the late half.
Well, the question is, do we really need that relief from the Fed rate?
Oh yeah, the Bitcoin network's going to be just fine, Rourke.
Yeah, it's like
Bitcoin's going to be just fine.
And here's what I see. So, like,
based
on
what
that,
you're right?
saying, that's year to date. So dollar is pretty strong as of, what would you say, late January? Late January bottomed. If we go to a year, you could see, and let's have a long-term perspective. Here's
Was
5
that
years. Okay?
5 years?
That's 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
5 years. Dollar's going pretty strong. People say the dollar is dying. The dollar's not dying. Every other currency around the world is dying according to the dollar. The dollar is the best fiat you could possibly get, which is why Tether is so strong. It's better than the people saying the dollar's dying according to what? Yeah, maybe real estate prices, maybe Bitcoin over a long period of time, but definitely not according to, other currencies. So it's very interesting to see the dollar increase while the Fed rates are pausing, and um, that doesn't make for good asset valuations.
I just, I think we're in for some wild times.
Yeah.
I don't know that Bitcoin's ever I don't know that Bitcoin's ever been in this type of an environment. Like they're not like there's no signaling of of major money printing or catastrophe fixing or anything right now, right?
They do.
And there's no
People
like
keep complaining about it.
and all of the trades are quote unquote unwinding.
Mhm.
Like you've got like, oh, the AI bubble that's finished, even though businesses are still getting paid and chips are still shipping and
Right.
Nvidia is still getting paid. Like it's so interesting that like all of a sudden every story now is just dead in the water. Like but yet if we zoom out and we take a look at what's actually happening, the wheels are all still turning, right? Like you take a look, like Morgan Stanley, they're moving straight. They're going full steam ahead with their ETF, right? Like they're not stopping. You go take a look at what's happening with with regulations, and regulations are all even even though the ship goes right, the ship turns very slowly, the government ship, but still they're moving ahead, right? We're going to get some clarity on the Clarity Act at some point in April, so there's that aspect of it as well. Anyways, it's interesting.
Does that mean that
Oh.
that mean with the narrative that we have here, and that people are like, there's no good news in the press? Is that funny that by the time, like, we've seen this before, like, for instance, MicroStrategy, like, to bring it back to this Bitcoin industry, like, MicroStrategy was quietly pumping so hard in 2024, in 2023 as well, as Bitcoin recovered from the bear market. And then in November of 24, we got the suit coiners, we got the MicroStrategy maxis, we had the True North boys, and from that point, MicroStrategy never maintained its rate of return. Like it literally it hit its peak when all the good news started. MicroStrategy is going to do this and that and this and that. And so what I'm thinking, to bring it back to this current story, could it be that with all of these negative stories and the unwinding trades, that's when value happens? That if you're going to invest in something, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, it's when everyone says Bitcoin is dead. Now, honestly, I mean, even going beyond that, like they say AI is, falling apart. But I mean, I'm getting notifications about how my company is starting to utilize AI solutions. My wife is getting notifications how her company is starting to use AI solutions. Could it be that when everyone's supposed to be scared off the plate, that's when you should really start swinging, and you should be putting some money into the things that you believe in, namely for this show, Bitcoin.
Do you think there's enough fear in the market right now? This goes back to the stuff we're talking about here. It looks like we're never getting out of talking about price speculation.
Yeah.
But I don't think the market has hit max fear.
Right.
I don't think the market has hit max fear. I don't think it has hit max pain. But of course, my hopium doesn't make me want to think that we're going to go significantly lower. So
Do we?
Of course,
Do,
I'm just
do
going
you,
to sit there and be
do
like,
you abide by the fear and index charts? Because I saw the crypto fear and index chart go to, actually, I think it's hit 1 at one point in January. That was pretty fearful. But I gotta admit, it hit 1 when Bitcoin is like at 80. I'm like, oh, really hurt my heart, but dang, it went lower than that.
I mean, look, when I was showing you those yearly candles, I don't know if you noticed, but we're sitting below, right? We're sitting below the previous cycle's top, right? Where it's like we're doing it again.
But we
So
don't do that for too long.
no, we don't do that for very long, but we still do it. And like it sucks. But here we are. I mean, look, the 50s and 60s, I was expecting. I guess I'm more butthurt by the idea of 35 and 40, right? Like it just yeah. But I mean, look, we don't understand. I think we don't really, this kind of goes back to what Psychotrain was talking about over here. Sorry, Train Johnson. You can't go through the Strait of Hormuz if you're trading in dollars, only yuan, and this goes back to that whole point that look, if this war, if this situation that is happening in the Middle East continues to drag on, this is going to drag on markets. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I totally agree, right? Like we know TikTok and the next block and all that good stuff, and we know the Bitcoin network keeps going. Unfortunately, though, Bitcoin is indeed traded on exchanges, right? And those exchanges involve humans, and as people get more fearful and more I guess downtrodden about the situation, like that can definitely affect things. And not only that, right? But okay, so I forget, I think it was I was listening to in one of these spaces this guy David Levinson or something like that. He talks about like a lot of TradFi stuff, and he was essentially explaining this whole thing about how like even companies like Microsoft, right? Like they can't, like right now nobody's even really buying their shares, like they keep going down. So essentially what he was saying is that if we have a situation where the war continues to drag on and for whatever reason we end up in the type of scenario where the index is, right, like you get like a massive drop in the NASDAQ where it has to halt, right? And you can't trade. So what is the thing that is always liquid? Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is always liquid. Bitcoin always trades. Like there is no halting. Like that's the beauty of it. This is like a real free market. And so, like in those types of situations, if that type of thing occurs, we are going to see major volatility in Bitcoin.
Right.
Short term, very short term, but we are going to see it. So and to Rourke's point, like that's the kind of thing that Bitcoin really was built for, right? It's 24/7 on demand liquidity. That's part of the use case.
Well
So
said. Well,
anyways, I don't know.
Gold is not gold is not built for that use case. Gold is down 22%.
What happened?
High.
What happened?
I mean, I guess technically when you're down 20 something percent from your record high, I guess you officially enter a bear market. So that was pretty quick for something as stable and as long lasting and historic precedent as gold is now in a bear market. I mean, it just got like going, like, but the problem is gold is nowhere near as liquid as Bitcoin. So my question is, like, I mean, do you think that it's going to be a long time for it to recover from that 22%? I mean, or is gold like this new hyper volatile asset that's going to try to compete with Bitcoin from a speculation standpoint? Like, I don't know what to think, but I do feel like for something as with that much market cap to move that fast, whatever speculation was there was not real price action, sort of like those wicks that you saw. Like no one's ever going to think that top end wick for gold is going to be a real price. I think it's discovering its real price is nowhere near that 5,000 point. It's going to be near 4,000. And guess what? Maybe as all of these things start fleshing out and all this uncertainty starts becoming more certain, people stop thinking about why they want this dead metal or paper dead metal, and they start putting their money into things that have life and have a future, like functional companies and of course Bitcoin.
I like ACP's take here that gold, right, was gold having its IPO moment. I mean, look, if it took 4,000 years for gold to have its IPO moment, that alone in itself, I think, tells the story of whether or not that was a bubble or not. No, I'm kidding. But look, it depends on what you believe, right? Okay, so are we entering the part of are we entering the Weimar Germany stage of when money dies,
And if
where
that's the case,
gold
then
does that,
gold
right?
flies too, right?
So if that's the case, then hey man, that 20% down is your opportunity to buy the dip, right? But if we're not, and if what is happening is that stable coins end up providing this massive release valve for the US dollar debt, right? Because all of these businesses that are offering stable coins, all of these countries that are offering stable coins, one of the main things that they can add to their baskets is US treasuries. So if that's the case, right, does gold just kind of go back to some 200 week moving average or something like that and just kind of sit there for, I don't know how many more years? Look, somewhere in there is going to be the truth of what's actually happening, right? I've never been
in
a
between
gold
there
bug,
and there is
so
not $10,000 gold, Phil.
no, it isn't. I don't know what is that. I don't. But what is there, right?
That's right.
So yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not 100%, and I'm not like trying to. I'm not trying to shit on the gold bugs or anything like that. I think they have a better thesis in terms of in terms of buying and holding an asset versus some other people. But I'm just saying that it really depends on where we are, because if we're not going through the whole Weimar Germany thing, where money is dying, then I'm sorry, but the gold price is most likely going to continue to just be manipulated and held.
Yeah, we
down.
may be seeing
So,
bubbly
I
kind
don't
of
know.
things. Remember, the central banks were buying gold, and that was really, I mean, it wasn't regular people like, look, I got my gold Bitcoin chain right there, and I rock it once in a while, and that's cool. But I didn't hear, just like no one was talking about buying Bitcoin in the streets, no one was buying gold, no regular people. So where was this buying coming from? It's coming from the central banks. And when you hear about that Turkey sells off a bunch of gold, and this is a middle, kind
Oh
of near
yeah.
Middle East country, and they're, they've really, these people, like, just like India, like near Middle East, not really Middle East, but they value gold in that area, that sort of like Mesopotamia, like extended region. Turkey sells, the central bank sells 58.4 tons of gold in 2 weeks. That's not fake news. That's not exacerbation. This is real. This is like confirmed. Um, Look, I think that if the central banks are saying, yeah, we're dumping gold for whatever basket of currencies, we're buying, Kazakhstan is buying Bitcoin. Cheers to Kazakhstan. We're like the only, I mean, it's so funny. People did
And
not cheer Kazakhstan for buying Bitcoin. I'm like, this is what y'all wanted. Y'all wanted central banks to buy Kazakhstan.
not them. Not like that.
All these influencers. Well, actually, I'm like, wow, just because you weren't the one shaking hands and with the picture taken,
Well, we've
doesn't
seen that
mean
happen.
it's not a good thing. It's crazy. But it's like all these central banks, I did a piece on it, I'm pretty sure, when I was doing regular Down with the Underground, and we just rattling off all these banks that were buying gold early 2025. It's really it should be scary for gold bugs to say they're essentially the people who propped them up are kind of looking for their exit.
Mm. It kind of reminds me of the not like that meme, like where the kid, the parents give him some change for the machine, and then he goes and he buys Bitcoin, he buys Bitcoin with it,
Right.
and it's exactly that. It's like, oh, like we wanted countries to buy Bitcoin, and Kazakhstan's like, we're buying Bitcoin. It's like, not you.
It's
not like that.
That was the most
somebody else.
shocking thing. Like when Bitcoin Magazine posted that, or maybe it was Bitcoin News, and I saw so many like six-figure influencers like trying to counter the point. I'm like, wow, that is just that's kind of sedity. That's kind of petty. It's like it just shows the incentives. Like unless things are happening through you,
Not
or unless
happening.
it's happening through your, it's not worth
Yeah,
it. So that means, guess what? If
not
the
happening.
pleb underground happens to get a lot of views or like does a good thing, but
Ooh.
guess what? Maybe you didn't sponsor the pleb underground, or you didn't say that the pleb underground was a good show, then that means it doesn't exist. So it's like, really, are you really here to make Bitcoin, are you really here for hyper Bitcoinization? Are you here for hyper you-ization? It's kind of
Ooh.
sad. That was an eye-opening moment when I saw the Kazakhstan thing. These people, we're not all in this together, guys. So we have
No.
to be cautious of who you say is, oh yeah, this guy's a good actor. Some people are just here for themselves. We all
Yeah.
have our incentives, but
Yeah.
just be cautious of who you trust out there, guys. Don't trust, verify.
Absolutely. Going back to the Turkey thing, though. Yeah, Phil, I don't know enough about Turkey's economic situation or anything like that.
Well,
But
they had a major currency crisis maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Like they were celebrating Bitcoin all-time high in Turkey when we were kind of flattish. But go ahead.
yeah, but in terms of them selling gold, right? So again, this kind of goes back to the point of
I had to say that.
if they didn't think that gold was at a valuation worth selling, then they wouldn't sell it. Like it's that simple. So obviously, right? Like when you sell something, right? Like you're making a like that's your trade, right? You are saying, "Hey, I'm selling it here. I don't believe it's going to go higher,
That's right.
or maybe it will go higher, but I just don't care about those gains because I've made what I need or what I would like out of this." So I just, to me, like it just I don't think they had any real need to sell the gold. I think that they believe that it reached a valuation where they believe that, hey, this is the right time to be doing this. That's
Right.
all.
Which means
Um,
they didn't really believe in gold as this like
no,
long term, like it's like, hey, great, we made a great trade. We're gonna party because we got our gains. And that was really, and just like people in Bitcoin. So it's like us in Pleb Underground, we kind of think, hey, this is going to be the money of the world. Some other people say, "Oh, I'm here for a year." That was a short-term trade for Turkey. And that's not what the gold bugs want Turkey to think like. So it's like they had different visions for what this asset is.
BTC Moon Guy says he's in it for the tech. So
Gold.
I'm just gold. No, but I think it's because we're
You
talking
define
about.
it,
I think it's
we
because
don't
we're
want
talking about
pronouns.
Bitcoin and we were talking about incentives before, and you were talking about that aspect of it. It's kind of funny that line, right? Because definitely that's like one of the main shitcoiner selling points, right? Oh, I'm not here for like the massive gains. I'm here for the tech,
Mhm.
and then like you quickly realize that the tech does not require your shitcoin to beat the tech,
That's
right? Like
funny.
that's what you end up learning about the shitcoin use cases. However, when it comes to Bitcoin, as geeky as it is, like obviously, NGU, but at the same time, I can't disagree that I'm not here for the tech in some way. Like
Absolutely.
I think it's, I think payment technology is very interesting. I worked with payment technology for a little while. So for me already, I had like, a bit of a geeky side for it. And it's just like, this is great, you know?
It's funny
Yeah,
that you mentioned
exactly.
that.
That
Yeah.
Matt hit the nail on the head though, right? Here for separation of money and state. And this is supposed to be the whole reason, right, why Bitcoin. I mean, of course, you could say digital scarcity, solving the double spend problem, but really what it did is it managed to create a level playing field, or at least as level of a playing field as can be created.
And if you do
W-
separate money from state, what ends up happening is it's likely that inflation doesn't become a baked in quality of the monetary system, that inflation will happen in economics naturally, whether based on the supply and demand of goods out there, as opposed to a central institution determining how much money out there should be for everyone. And by the way, the Cantillon effect, my friends get access to that new money first. You take that away, regular people that are working regular jobs would benefit greatly, as
Mhm.
opposed to the elite, people close to the money printer or the banking institutions. Now, it's so funny. I wanted to talk to you about, why do we need that crypto token for the people who say I'm in it for the technology? I follow Coin Market Cap because I like to look at all the other assets to see what they're doing, and I noticed this asset. I'm not going to bring this up. Well, maybe I will. Let me see if I can pull it up to the screen.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do I share screen? Am I still sharing the screen? Add to stage. Let's see what happens when I add to stage. Guys, I'm failing my little asset thing. That's not the one I want. I'll talk it through. But anyway, so what we have is like, you have this top 10 list of cryptocurrencies. You guys probably all know them generally: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether. You start going down Tron, Dogecoin. Number 10 is something called Hyperliquid. And I'm like, I've never heard about that. It kind of just popped up. But like, and then my buddy who I'm sitting there, he's about to deploy to somewhere in the Middle East, probably one of the lighter places, not the rough one. I forget. But anyways, that's neither here or there. He's talking about his crypto and his crypto investments and the things that he's excited about. And he talks about something called Hype. I'm like, gosh, I heard about that. And it's like, well, what's Hype? Hype is basically this
Shitcoin?
This exchange for tokenized real world assets or equities. So you can have tokenized equities on this Hype exchange. And so you can essentially trade Tesla. And I saw Tesla there. I saw Microsoft. And it's like, as I open this thing, it's like, oh, that's crazy. It's like, it's like tokenization, kind of like what BlackRock was pitching. And so when I think about this, I'm like, so bro, but okay, this is tokenized assets. Okay, you can trade them on an exchange. It's decentralized, I guess, maybe not really. And I explained decentralization, but I was like, why do you need a token? And he gave me the funniest answer. And this was less than 7 days ago. This was during the Final Four. So it had to have been Sunday or Monday or something like that. It was Sunday. And he said, because they can. They'll make a token because people will trade it. And it's like, that's just a way for them to get more money. It has nothing to do with the asset. It has nothing to do with the service provided. It's just extraneous and a waste. And it just blew my mind. It's like he understood that it was pointless, but it was just kind of commonplace, and it's just the thing that people do.
It's funny. Verhoofty. And yeah, it's a shitcoin. It's always a shitcoin. These exchanges, right? Like they always need their own token. They don't have a choice, because otherwise, believe it or not, their exchange wouldn't be able to exist. So because they don't actually offer any value. Like, think about it. How many different exchanges do you really need? For all of these, like, look, it's like, especially having been around for as long as I have and having signed up for as many exchanges as I have, right? All of those exchanges, it was all just garbage, right? It was all just a bunch of altcoin nonsense that didn't need to exist. So how many do you really need? So that's why these guys, they create their own tokens. Then they create what obviously is a completely fake community with fake engagement.
Right.
And then you create a whole bunch of tokenomics and stuff like that. And, you get people to participate in this nonsense, right? And look, really, it doesn't take much. You only need a few examples of people that became incredibly successful, or something like that. Oh my God, they made so much money, and then all of a sudden it draws other people in. Like, it's just like those stupid commercials that they show now on every single streaming service for that lavish luck casino thing. It's the same thing. It's like, so you show some guy sitting there getting paid like $200 for playing casino games, and he didn't have to put any money.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
the
like you're gonna,
right.
Yeah, like you're gonna, it's, hey, look, thousands of people are gonna see it. If 10 people go and download the app and start using it, there you go, right? It's the law of numbers. Like, it doesn't make a difference.
Is this real right here? What he's saying? Pump Fund is now hyper.
Really?
No, or is that just like the cool thing? Does it mean?
Yeah, because Pump Fund definitely still exists.
Okay, then maybe that's just like how Pump Fund was like the 2025 like hot token back then, and now Hyperliquid is. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely not the same thing. Like Pump Fun is its own thing.
yeah, it's dead. It's not even in the top 100 anymore. Oh, there it is, number 75.
All
Well,
of this stuff,
it's not
all of
fun
this stuff,
anymore.
all of this stuff goes to die. And speaking of which, you've seen what's been getting shilled lately. I'm sure it's totally organic on Twitter. All of a sudden, all these people are organically talking about that Tau token, TAOS, I think it is.
How?
Right? Anyway, it's BitTensor, right? It's BitTensor. You go take a look. All of the usual VC bros are behind it, so it's obviously organic and totally not a pump and dump scam. It's going to be huge, right? It's big and blah blah blah. Like, it's so pathetic, and you get all of these ridiculous engagement accounts. It's like, okay, guys, let's just go see who funded this crap. And you go take a look, and it's all the usual VC bros. It's like, yeah, and enjoy your shitcoin, enjoy your pump and dump, have fun. I'll see you in 6 months.
Okay, I gotta ask you, and before we go on, like, I mean, I wanted to pull this, you know, that Bitcoin or that crypto chart of all the red, and it's so funny. Like, I think this is just the month of March. This is something short term, of course. But it's like when you think about all the blood in the streets, quote unquote, for the equities market, and you see Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is supposed to be the volatile one. And I'm not saying that there's not, but like Phil said, yeah, we could still just cascade down more. But if Bitcoin was, the front runner of all this, and it was actually the canary in the coal mine, and you see it pausing, and if it's fighting during the we're not saying anything good about shit coins, but yeah.
Look, some of them have a value proposition. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. None of them have a value proposition.
That sounded really good.
I'm joking. That's
like,
a terrible joke.
What's the canary in the coal mine? It's the front, it's the one that's indicating where the market is going. Maybe this flattening out again. Maybe it needs to flatten out for a few more months, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to hold out hope here, but Bitcoin is surprisingly resilient in a very scary time that we mentioned all the stuff we've mentioned and haven't mentioned. I mean, when you think about the oil prices going up to 100, above 100 from 60 just a few weeks ago, I saw something that a quick analysis that said, like, if it goes to $150 a barrel, there will be extreme economic consequences, and essentially society breaks down if oil would reach $200 a barrel. And so you have to start thinking, like, if these people know this or prognosizing this, and people who make decisions on whether missiles should be fired or not, and they're watching these oil prices, and if it does get to those thresholds before it's like, okay, we have to make a deal now or never. You got to think that if this thing is closing up and certainty comes back, we could be flipping the momentum to go back to saying, okay, let's create value, let's build rather than destroy, which would be good for Bitcoin, I would think, in the near term. But we have to see pins get down on paper, and we start seeing some ceasefires here or there. Otherwise, it looks like we're going to have some panic.
I just hope this doesn't drag out too long and gets significantly worse. But,
yeah, I did see Rubio say something about 5 like no more than 5 more weeks. I don't know why. I don't know where I saw that. Probably in just some streaming news feed. But it's like, okay, why 5 weeks? It doesn't make any sense. Hopefully, is he just feeding this to us to calm people down? Who knows?
So, like, I mean, it kind of. I'm not even going to go there. We're gonna, because I mean that conversation just is going to take us off into a whole different rabbit hole. But Verhoofdy said, "Does anybody here think we're going back to the altcoins? It's shitcoins tonight. That's what we're talking about right now. So we're stuck in shitcoin purgatory. Does anybody here think any of the alts will end up surviving and being a good investment for their holders?" And I mean, obviously, in the chats. There's nobody that thinks that, which doesn't surprise me. Oh, except for Rourke. Oh, you just put that up. Yeah, Rourke is he likes Caspa. I'm kidding, but the Caspa bros are hilarious, and those guys get really mad, right? Like it's like you can post. I've noticed like they're more reactive than XRP and Nano shills. Like Caspa won't let. I think it's. I don't know if it's BNB. I think does he mean BNB?
Talking about the Binance coin? Is he BNB? Okay,
that's what I think. I think I saw him put it before, but
he's just screwing with this, of course.
Yeah, 12K. Don't worry. But going back to this original question,
here's my thing with the altcoin thing. Like if we think about that these altcoins follow Bitcoin, and I'm not trying to advocate for. Obviously, I'm not trying to advocate for these altcoins, but let's just say that you say, hey, I'm sticking with Ethereum because of what ABC, XYZ, and Ethereum just doesn't die. And it just happens to trail Bitcoin. And maybe it doesn't follow Bitcoin perfectly, but maybe like, because we see that BTC to ETH price, like it's continually going down. But if it continues to go up against the dollar, is it a bad investment? And you never get caught up on an exchange. You never, they never take your coins. Someone, you always have your coins, and 5 years later you sell Ethereum, and you sell it for Bitcoin goes up to $250,000. Ethereum goes up to $5,000, $6,000. You sell it. Is it a bad thing? Is it a bad investment?
Is what a bad investment? Your shitcoin?
If Ethereum goes up to $6,000 in 5 years and you sell it, because that was the base question.
Well, I mean, okay, but hold on a second though. So this is where we get into the whole you value Ethereum against your Bitcoin pair, right? Like you put so far every single, I think with the exception really, and now this may have changed because it's been a while, like Nvidia at one point, right, was like trending up against Bitcoin, right? Which actually meant it was worth more and more Bitcoin. Right. But the majority of things that I've looked at besides that all go down against Bitcoin. So I don't really care if, you know what I mean, if Ethereum is going to be worth 5 or 6. And I understand, like, people sit there like, well, if you took $10,000 and bought, you'd have 5 ETH instead of point whatever of a Bitcoin. I get that. But again, this is where I go back to the properties of Bitcoin.
What did I say wrong, by the way? I just want.
Oh, no. So this is what happened. No, I'll explain it to you. Because look, I was trying to. So we were trying to answer Verhoofdy's question, right? And I was about to pop up. I popped up Psychotrain's comment, and I was going to read it. Right, some of the shitcoins will survive, but maybe even make people money. But those people would have made more if they bought Bitcoin instead. But you cut it off, and I had to take it off. So that's why you stole his screen time.
Hey, F your screen time. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
No, but seriously, like okay, so now we have to take into consideration the time frame from which, because like from Bitcoin's inception, and even from far, like if you bought in 2016, it's still the best asset. Like, but now let's just say that you're here in 2026, you're buying Bitcoin, and let's just say you buy Bitcoin, you buy Ethereum, you buy Nvidia, all on March 30th, 2026, and then you sell it all in 5 years exactly. And in 5 years exactly, Bitcoin is up, Ethereum's up, Nvidia's up. Ethereum survives, okay? And they all go up. Bitcoin's the highest. Okay, let's just say Bitcoin's the highest. Ethereum's the second highest. Nvidia's the third highest, but they are marginally different. Like let's just say you lose it by 10%. Ethereum's 10% less than Bitcoin in terms of gains from here to 5 years. Do we consider that a bad investment? But if people invest in Microsoft and it goes up, half as much, do we consider that a good investment? So it's like at some point, like I understand Ethereum for all the reasons that we should be holding cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is for sovereignty. It's like beyond the value of what money is what beyond the value of getting dollars. We hold it for individual sovereignty, self-custody, etc., peer-to-peer transactions. But if it's just for dollars, does Bitcoin win? What are you doing with my stuff? What are you pulling up?
Oh, I'm trying to pop up my chart.
It's really bad, huh? It's tripping. Hold on. I think we need to
It
remove
is.
something else.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove it. I'm going to just delete my screen share. Maybe I need to
Screen-
stop screen sharing. Maybe you can do it now.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to, because you're talking about this, so I'm trying to pull up the
Yeah.
ETH BTC chart so that we have like some reference.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right.
Yeah.
And of course,
And I noticed that we're pumping. Yay!
the ETH BTC.
Look at, no, us, BTC. Who cares about ETH?
BTC is pumping?
Look at us. Look at us.
See, that's what happens when I don't open up
We're
my
pumping
new phone.
flat. Look at us go.
I told you the
Yay!
bottom's in, bro. The bottom is in. I keep telling you.
I want to believe. Okay. Hold on. I want to believe. Trust me, man. I want to believe.
Okay,
so here you go. Here's ETH
Classic is the
BTC.
real Ethereum.
Okay.
Whatever that means.
Look, this is the weekly chart.
That's right.
Okay. Here's the weekly. Let's just stick this thing down into a monthly chart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is garbage. This is nonsense.
It's
right?
garbage.
Like, I don't care how much fiat dollars you're gonna get, how much more ETH you can buy. This is just sorry. It's like you could either be buying this or you could be buying
Bitcoin.
this.
That's right.
Okay. Like which one looks like it's going in the direction that you want, that I want. It's anyways. I don't get these people. I know you're not standing up for them. I'm just saying in general. With
and look, that question's going to come up. Like that question's for the pan crypto people. Hey, I'm a pan crypto person. I'm kind of like all crypto. It's like, well, it's like, what are you? And by the way, I first started. I got lucky and invested in Tron when I first got my first crypto, and I was like, I didn't, that always served me right from a dollar standpoint, but from a custody, from an ownership, from understanding what is money. Like you have to understand that there is only one of these assets that will preserve your right to exist as a human. And it will actually, this is actually a good a good segue into another slide. Let me pull this one up because it was going to be our final topic. But I kind of want to talk about this story that came across to me this weekend, not the weekend before. So I'm talking with this buddy who also plays basketball with me. But this guy's he's just a regular guy. He's not getting deployed anywhere. So we're watching again March Madness. We're sitting there talking about stuff, and he played professional basketball in Europe. I think he played in the country of Georgia. He went to a D2. He went to D2 like in Hawaii. And so we're talking about basketball, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, how was your time playing professional basketball in Europe? And he's like, it was great. It was fun, the experience. It's like, hey, I understand, of course you get paid and it's not as much as the NBA, of course, but it's like, it's tax free. It's like, yeah, man, it's tax free. But it's like, man, people think it's good that it's tax free, but it doesn't matter if you can't take it with you. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And it's like, well, in order for me to bring it back here, like I have to, first of all, I can't bring any more than $9,000 on my body. And so it's like, if you want to bring more, you have to pay an exit tax of 30%. And so it's like for all these people who are, they go over there and they work, they save a little bit of money, playing ball, there's a lot. Women's basketball is actually, they get paid more in Russia than they do out here. At least they did until like last week or something, but that's neither here or there. But professional basketball players, volleyball is a professional sport out there, and they play ball and they get taxed, and it's tax free. Of course, soccer is great. But it's like when they want to come back to America, that money's not theirs. It's locked in their system, and they end up having to pay a massive exit tax. And so he's like, yeah, he's trying to get as much money on his body as possible. That's not necessarily, within the legal grounds, but he's like, man, it's like, why should I have to give up all my money that I earned over there? And it's like, just to leave the country. It's not fair. And I'm like, and I told him, bro, There's never been a more obvious use case for Bitcoin than what you talked about right there. And he told me he's a young guy, he's, in his mid to late 20s. He said he never bought Bitcoin. But it's like the way he's talking, I'm talking about now, he's got to consider. I'm like, look, you don't have to go, balls to the wall like I did back in the day, but you got to learn about it. You got to consider it. You're an investor, that's good, but you have to consider what this thing that looks like all the news media is telling you it's a scam. You have to wonder, why are they telling you it's a scam? Maybe because they don't want you to exit the system, because that's where they get the value from you. So I think I opened his eyes a little bit. I'll be playing ball with him on a weekly basis on Thursday. So I'll have to keep asking. He told me to send him this podcast, but of course I forgot. So
come on, man.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, isn't that Phil, is that not a use case? Like, do you see how people, the money without borders, right?
When somebody, you know what, that was definitely one of those use cases that somebody I knew framed to me, right? Like, in a time of war, had these people been able to simply take their Bitcoin and move to another country, right? Like like they would have been able to avoid so much hardship and so much heartache. So it's, to a certain extent, it's not just, it's not just being able to store your time value. It's a freedom enabler. And unfortunately, you only see that when that type of scenario presents itself. So it's not like you get to sit there and be like, oh, I understand the benefits of this just because I understand the benefits of this. No, it's, unfortunately, you're only going to see the benefits of it when that situation occurs. And you are able to navigate it because you have Bitcoin, and you're able to navigate it more successfully, right? Meaning that you're able to take your wealth with you wherever you go, and you're able to start anew, right? Keep your family going, all of that good stuff. And I hate getting into that too much, because then it starts to sound like doomerism and all of that crap. Like, oh, the whole world's going to end and you're going to have to carry your Bitcoin everywhere. Like that's not what I'm saying.
That's what savings is
but this
for,
is the point. Exactly. Like just even think of it as, preserving your lineage and whatnot. It doesn't even have to be that you're escaping a war-torn country. It could just simply be that you're trying to preserve your wealth into your future, so that you can somehow give your future generations an opportunity that you did not have. And you can do this by bypassing the state using Bitcoin. Anyways. Yeah.
And that's why you don't Ethereum. That's essentially why. That's why you don't crypto. That's why you Bitcoin. You don't Bitcoin because times are good. You Bitcoin because it will preserve you when times are bad. Just like, the same thing as having a savings account. It's the only difference is that the savings account that we were used to in our parents' day and age, that thing is also corrupted as well. It has been continually getting corrupted until we are here in this present day and age, where we see the evidence of the corruption now. We may not be able to see it in the 50s or even 1971 or right after that, but we see it now. And at least for the people paying attention. And if you're not paying attention, you are setting yourself up for disaster. And the disaster takes multiple forms, but you see, we brought up Turkey. People in Turkey are wrecked. People in Lebanon are wrecked. Is it going to happen to America? Probably last, but to what degree? Like, you can be wrecked in America and still be, you can be severely hurt in America and the dollar doesn't die completely. You can go through whoa, that was really bad. All of a sudden, like, everything is way more expensive. Didn't that happen with COVID? I'm pretty sure that essentially happened with COVID. Like, all of a sudden, everything was just 30% more expensive right after, 2021, 2022, about a year and a half after the money printing started. But who benefited? The Bitcoiners.
So this is really strange, because I'm not seeing any news that indicates why we're starting to move higher or anything like that. Stock futures are down.
It's got to be Iran.
There's got to
It's
be
gotta
something,
Iran.
but there's no like the closest thing I see is like something from like 5 hours ago, and it's really nothing that special.
Silver silver surges 3%.
Yeah, it's it's one again, right? Going back to the going back to what you were saying.
1%. Go continue.
Oh no, going back to these use cases, right? Yeah, I've told my story so many times. I'm not going to go through the whole entire thing, but again, right? Like for me, one of the things that clicked about Bitcoin was because I had been debanked, right? Because that had happened to me, I immediately understood self-custody. Now, of course, when it happened to me, there was no Bitcoin. Like that did not exist. So unfortunately, I was just screwed, right?
Right.
But as soon as I began to understand Bitcoin, that was the first thing that clicked, was like, hey, wait a second, that wouldn't happen to me in that case. This is totally different. This is something that I can genuinely take with me, and that I can choose where it goes, when it goes, how it goes. It's like, there's, and again, this is why it doesn't appeal to everybody, I think, to a certain extent, right? Like self-custody doesn't really appeal to everyone. And this is why we get into this whole thing about these other products, right? Like products like ETFs and things like that, because some people genuinely just want exposure to NGU and they don't want anything else. And this is how we get into the paper trades and all of this other nonsense.
There's something to consider with that when we talk about, and we briefly pop this up again. I don't have much more information on this. I think I had some notes on it, but generally,
Brian Armstrong sucks. Was that in your notes? Was that in your notes?
Do I have to say that?
Oh, okay.
A consortium of multiple people, Coinbase, Block, River, Bitcoin Policy Institute. It's like the Avengers are forming to go march on Washington to demand that we don't pay taxes on small or de minimis payments for Bitcoin and crypto. And so this happened, I guess, sometime last week. And all I really know about that is that, there was good conversation, and I think there may be a timeline to where something could be drafted into some sort of law. That we're looking at the earliest that we'll see any true movement on this, or any movement where it will like actually impact even like, hopium, would be September of this year. So that kind of conversation is out there happening during the bear market, where these leaders in the crypto and Bitcoin space are looking for ways to make Bitcoin more usable for, guess what, the rabbit hole person. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people stop at money, where it just goes down to, can I buy my coffee with it? And so, like, I mean, what do you think? You think this is I'd like to think that this is a benefit to Bitcoin in general. If you can go to, a Starbucks and you don't have to worry about filling out a 1099, not that, I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure that none of these people are filling out all the transactions with Bitcoin. Like, I guess they're leaving people open to say, hey, we can now, all you guys are criminals. We're just going to knock down your door. You didn't pay that $8 tax when you bought some donuts. But I like to think that when that becomes, okay, we're not going to knock down your door for that, I'd like to think that that's a big boon for the Bitcoin market as a whole. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so a couple of things with this de minimis tax.
And by the way, just for context, I'm sorry, ACP, yes, it should be up to 5,000. I saw the number being as low as $600. So they're not pursuing. I think they'd get laughed out of the room with the $5,000. I agree with you. And in fact, I believe it should be even 10,000. But it's 600. Go ahead, Phil.
I think you should just be able to spend Bitcoin.
I think so too.
But we all know that we're not getting that, right? So we're begging we're begging for $600 at this point. But look, what I wanted to say was this: a couple of things. Number one, I hope that the Bitcoin Policy Institute has a rabbit that they can pull out of their hat. I hope that Connor Brown and David Zell and the rest of that team that they can do some freaking magic, because they are up against a mountain of altcoin VC garbage. Okay. Because look, there is not a single person in the altcoin space that is lobbying for Bitcoin.
No.
Okay. They are all desperate to save whatever they can of their shitcoin casino. Right. And right now, all of those yields that they pay out and all of that stuff, like this is all like, it's like the butter on their bread. So you can't take that away from them. So they're doing everything, especially Brian Armstrong, right? He is doing everything to ensure his personal moat. Okay. And that to me is part of the problem. So what's happening up there on the Hill is that the lawmakers, the policymakers are getting this distorted version of reality from these shitcoin trolls. And all we have is a couple of guys out of the Bitcoin Policy Institute that, when you put them up against their audience and also their, I guess their
alleged
colleagues
allies
from the VC world, right? Against their alleged allies, they're alone. They kind of sound like the lone, like the lone nuts, sitting there talking about Bitcoin as a de minimis tax. Like, no, wait a second. We don't need that. Bitcoin's not money. Go away. It's all about the altcoin casino. And again, I really hope that somehow we can get some type of traction, because really what we're seeing, it's just a clear attack. Sure, you could say, well, it's maybe not a verbal where they specifically said we're attacking Bitcoin. It's fine, but actions speak louder than words. And when you're not including Bitcoin in something like this, I think that says everything about their motivations. It says everything about those altcoin VCs' motivations. It's plain and simple. It's like, so the thing that made it possible for you to be a success, you're going to shit on it, right? Like, this is what these people are. This is just ungratefulness.
Well, it's short-term perspective. And I mean, them being grateful to the Bitcoin, what would you call it? Like something this non-physical entity, when they are only interested in how does this make them a buck in the near term. And that's all a lot of these people care about. It's again, the shitcoin casino, the gambling platforms, the ability to be the middleman of a trade, whether it's betting on the Lakers or trading Ethereum for Bitcoin, for dollars, for whatever. The whole movement of tech in this finance world is not about making money better for individuals. It's about becoming the new middleman, where maybe Visa and MasterCard had the monopoly or a duopoly, and they're trying to get a share of that. It's about transactions. We always hear about transactions, transaction speed, the faster transactions are, the more money that these institutions can get from the transactions. If you can scale up your transactions, that's better for the middleman. And so therefore they make more money. They don't really care about the quality of the money. They just want money to move faster for themselves, to get more frequent percentage fees on what you're doing. It's volume. It's a selfish endeavor, but and they're not our allies. We have to remember that.
I just want to point out here, Psychotrain makes a good point. Even if we get the exemption, if it isn't indexed to inflation, then it'll be worthless very soon. And that's also a good point. And this kind of goes back to my original statement of there shouldn't be a number. Like, it's just Bitcoin should be money, and you shouldn't be paying tax on spending it like that. And that's the end of that, right? Like, it should be that simple.
It really is.
It's not, and of course they have no incentive to make it simple. They are regulators, the government, all of these institutions, they have absolutely no incentive to make it, to leave it alone.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like, why? Like, they have the high ground. They have the high ground. The only way that they would be able to And here's
Yes,
here's the big catch. Like the only way that the people with the high ground will be willing to go to the negotiating table to say, let us have our way, is if we actually had the high ground. And which means that you take a step back. Well, what does that mean? How do you have the high ground? Well, guess what? Like, I mean, Max Kaiser, one of the more popular quotes I've heard from him, and it's absolutely right. He who has the money makes the rules. And so when you think about, that these people that have the Bitcoiners that would have an exorbitant amount of wealth because of number go up technology, they're not willing to listen to Bitcoiners until they have buying power, monetary influence. And it's like, if you don't listen to us and come to the negotiating table with us, we'll take our talents, our finances, our money to El Salvador. We'll take our money to Switzerland. We'll take it somewhere else because you don't want to play with us. And that's what it boils down to. When you start seeing the governments as when the governments start negotiating with you, that's when you know that you are a wanted commodity. And if that you're a wanted asset, they want you with us. What do governments
they
do?
want you on their team.
They want you on their team.
Want you on
Lower
their
taxes
team.
for big businesses. Oh, Tesla, we'll let you come in. We'll give you 15%. You'll get 13%. Come open your factories over here. Guess what? Elon Musk left California, went to Texas. Why? The taxes were better. The state goes to the negotiation table with people who are winning. So how do you win? Well, maybe if we stop playing crypto games and start all these people who are alleged allies, hey, if you want to play crypto games, what you need to do, you need to make Bitcoin actually win first. Let's get Bitcoin to win. Let's ally together and say, hey, these are the things that we need to do to force the issue, force the state to adopt us. And then guess what? You want to open up a gambling casino with little tiny cryptocurrencies. You'll have it much easier when you've already won because Bitcoin got you there. But until then, you say, oh, Bitcoin, look, it's like $1 trillion asset. Listen to me. Meanwhile, your little cryptocurrency is like, no one, you're going to get Bitcoin gets laughed out of Washington until it's a $3-5 trillion, $10 trillion asset. They're not going to listen.
They can't ignore it. They can't ignore it. And right now, right, they're kind of like, this is the then they fight you stage. I wanted to go back here to what Matthew said about, we need to stick together with our allies, though.
Sure.
And that is a good point, right? And it's, to me, right, when we're looking at these institutions, what do I consider an institution that is an ally? The Bitcoin Policy Institute is one institution that I consider to be an ally to Bitcoin. I don't consider Coinbase to be an ally to Bitcoin. I don't consider Binance to be an ally to Bitcoin. I understand, that lots of people trade shit coins over there, and I understand that it creates a market and all of that stuff.
So two institutions, Bitcoin Magazine or BTC Inc., ally or not, and then Tether.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, so look, I've said it before when it comes to Tether. I don't think that Tether is a Bitcoin ally. I know that they say the magic words, but to me, they are just an instrument of the US dollar. And the more information that comes out with the backroom deals that went on between Howard Lutnick, his family, and the money that Tether lent them and all of that stuff, to me, this is just it's a machine for the US dollar. And when it comes to, I'm sorry, what was the other one was Bitcoin Magazine.
Inc., yeah.
That's a tough one, right? So look, I feel like that's, it's kind of interesting. That's a little bit trickier, right? Because, and the reason I say that is because I do know some solid Bitcoiners that work for Bitcoin Magazine. I know some solid Bitcoiners that have worked for Bitcoin Magazine. So I could say that the people that consist in those teams, I could say that, yes, there are many allies of Bitcoin that work there.
No, the institution.
Yeah. The institution, I would say, no, I would say is not an ally of Bitcoin. So Because look, again, right? This is one of those things where, they don't have to take the shitcoiner money, right? Like you don't have to do these things. And you know what it is, right? It's like, well, if I don't do it, someone else will.
That's the classic
Someone else will grow.
capitalism argument, right?
Of course, it always is, right? And round the circle we go, and it never ends, right? And you're always here, and it's the last day of summer, and all that stuff. It's like, here we are.
Yeah, and this is the thing where it's like there's a difference. Capitalism is good, and where I'm not saying that they should leave money on the table, but when you have monetary power, when you have financial freedom, you have the ability to pick and choose what you choose to do. We choose, we were just talking about this, we choose to spend our with the Pleb Underground, doing Bitcoin Tonight, you doing the Daily Show. I did Down with the Underground in the past. I chose that with my time. This is what I choose to do. I could choose to do a lot. I could play poker. I can go lift more weights. I can go sell. I can go be a salesman and sell crypto. I can just work for a crypto company and monetize this time that I'm using. But because of capitalism, there's something called subjective value, and we choose to spend that time, which is a form of value, in this way. Bitcoin Magazine, with the money that they've made, the success they had over decade plus, they choose to do the Bitcoin Treasury Company, platform cryptocurrency scammers, platform people that are just for entertainment purpose and not actually moving the needle, rather than, hey, we're about hyper Bitcoinization and we're trying to make this happen tomorrow. So let's get militant about it. They're not really about that. It's more about, we want to turn ourselves into, something that collects more dollars now, because they got the money. So everyone has their incentives, and we will call those incentives out on the Pleb Underground.
Oh yeah. And Verhoofdy, good point here. I don't know who is an ally or not. I'm here for number go up and permissionless portable money for my future family's freedom. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the and this is the key, right? Like, this is something that actually coming to this space, finding Bitcoin Twitter at that time, back in 2017, this is what it was, right? Like, we're a whole bunch of people that don't agree about anything else except for Bitcoin. Like that's what it's about. It's like, that is the, that whole meme about hijacking greed, right? Like that was the whole point, is that you would be so greedy that you would accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can, and as a result, you would end up bettering your life. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of secondary effects that have occurred since then as well, right? Where people have now become incentivized to sell you shares of companies that pretend to hold Bitcoin and a whole bunch of other nonsense.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, it was all about providing, or being able to get an opportunity to provide, to store your value into the future without needing to worry that the government can seize it.
That's really the narrative. Like, imagine, like, if we all define what is most, if by saying hijacking greed or defining what that greed is, we're all assuming that everyone is here to get as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. But what's actually happening is that people who are in this space are here to convince you that they're here to get as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And meanwhile, they're collecting the dollars underneath the table. They're selling out incentives for an alternate cause, and not the Bitcoin cause that you thought. So if they're not here to collect as much Bitcoin as you can, then that's not the ally that you think you have, or that's not the person that you think they are. They're essentially purporting a fraud. And so therefore it's more nefarious than, it's like, hey, we don't, like, whoever's here, like, Bitcoin goes up no matter what. There are still thieves in the temple or wolves in sheep's clothing, and we have to be aware of that, lest we become a victim ourselves.
That's a good point. Absolutely good point. And on that note, guys, that is going to do it for Bitcoin Tonight. Hope you guys had fun. We had a good time. It was really much more of a Bitcoin centric episode. We will be back, of course, next Monday night, 8:30 p.m. with more of these fun topics to go over. It's going to be a week later, so I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to happen in the next 7 days.
Hopefully my lights are green.
Yeah. Hopefully the lights are green. I mean, look, man, we wicked up to 68.4 during this show. I love it when we're live and we actually wick up, but now it's funny. We're going to end the show. Yeah. We're doing our best. Okay. We're doing our best. Humble is like in the middle of, she's got a whole bunch of things that are going on, and we're looking forward to her coming back on the show. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. Thank you guys very much. And you have a great evening. And of course I am back tomorrow, 12:10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to dive into the news. There's already a whole bunch of hopium. Don't worry. All right, guys. Take it easy. Peace.